What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to the Genshin Impact Teyvat Chapter Interlude teaser, The God's Limits. I have no idea what to expect from this. I am incredibly excited though. I have no idea who this is. Maybe one of the shades? Something like that? Shade of Life, maybe? All I know is they have the different eyes, which are cool looking. But yeah, something to do with the gods, something to do with Nod Cry, maybe? Either way, I'm not entirely sure, so feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment on your thoughts. Consider becoming a channel member if you want to support me just that little bit extra, and let's get into this. Ooh? Is this going to be more Whoa, this animation style. This full painted style is insane. I love this already. Not at all what I would expect from Genshin.
This world has always been so. Life abides no
Okay,
reason,
now we go into the more traditional
for
style.
none are born by their own consent.
Okay.
Death abides no reason.
Yeah, these are the shades.
For it
That's
cannot
Renova.
be defied. Even
So we're
by
meeting the
those who
shades.
See it coming. Time abides no reason. For it deprives us all equally.
Ooh,
Yet
that's
brooks not a second to be reclaimed.
interesting way to phrase that.
Space abides
Yep.
no reason.
Shade of Space. Confirmed. Holy shit, that's some lore. What? Oh, wait. Oh.
The ruler of space stopped the golden-haired twin travelers.
Oh god, I'm forgetting the name. Is that
tore them apart.
Reindoir? Because we know they consumed one of the shades. Is it fighting against them? Oh? Ooh. Whoa.
No. This looks more like Rhindaughter's doing.
Okay, yeah. They know of
Please
Rheindotir.
don't litter other people's spaces with your bizarre
Okay, a
creations.
creation of Rheindotir. So that is Rheindotir.
Unsurprisingly, all life here has been
We now
rendered
know what
unstable,
Rheindotir looks
tainted by
like.
the ruler of space. I have seen enough to know that repeating this experiment would be fruitless.
We're seeing Rheindotir and Renova!
You seem to wield my power as if it were nothing but a plaything for your amusement.
There is this interface with
Although
the
merging with you
original...
has stripped me of agency.
Okay.
I shall still continue to voice my disapproval.
A duality, okay.
My dear
That's how it
Rheindotir.
manifests.
You have my respect, Nibirius.
Yeah,
Your
Rheindotir and
nagging is one of
Nibirius.
the only things that can get under my skin.
This is insane. Ooh, the digital effect. Ooh, and the blue to
And
the
you,
gold. Okay.
Istaroth?
Yeah,
Why did you
Istaroth.
bestow history upon them?
This
I
is
had to
fucking
find some way
insane.
to pass the time, did I not? After all,
The god of time
clear
needing
that
to find a way to
Asmodee
pass
is
the
not
time.
here.
Asmodee?
Perhaps you could share your input a little earlier next time.
Is
But you're right.
Asmodee the
There's
sustainer
no
of
trace
the
of
Heavenly
Asmodee
Princess?
here.
Or is that
Where
someone
has
else?
she gone?
That sounds like it's supposed to be her.
Anyway, it's time I put this space out of its misery.
Okay. So some experimental space? Ooh. Yeah, the cubes. The cubes! This is absurd. I'm loving all of their eyes. They're so distinct.
these meetings are
Oh?
just a formality. Does it really matter that only 3 of us are here?
Okay,
I,
no,
for
that's
one,
Istaroth, I
think
guess.
that we should find her. Since the Heavenly Principles cast us as shades, not one of us has ever missed a meeting.
What
But
if
now the Sustainer isn't here. Asmodee is not here.
she just switched sides?
Oh!
Finding her would do more harm than good.
The Shade of Space, the
Now
sustainer of
there's an
heavenly
interesting
principles,
idea.
Asmodee,
Better than
swapped
being
sides.
devoured.
Just switched sides? You make it sound like such a trivial affair.
To the
We are
abyss?
shades, shadows of the heavenly principles.
Shadows of the
It's
heavenly
unthinkable.
principles.
Unless
Huh.
she loves her new master more than her own self.
Oh. The sinners? Would she
you
really
know that
put
you're
herself
being
beneath
watched?
them?
By whom? Whose gaze could pierce this far?
Yeah. The sinners? Oh!
I remember those eyes.
What?
It was just before I placed the curse of immortality.
Oh my god. Shit is happening. Oh, he had both eyes then? He didn't have the mask. Well, I guess he has both eyes still, I think, but... So he witnessed the curse befalling them. What the fuck is happening? And he just watched. Holy shit.
Yes. He's an old acquaintance of mine. I'm sure that working for the Tsaritsas helped him let go of his past obsessions.
Really? Ooh, the
Cryo
Harbingers.
With her paltry powers, she dares set her gaze on the heavenly principles.
Yep, things are in motion.
The heavenly principles have yet to awaken.
So the shades are acting
If I were her, I
separate
wouldn't
from
pass
the
on that
heavenly
opportunity
principles
either.
because they're still asleep.
My dear Rhine daughter, you know I cannot allow you to think that way.
Interesting. Wild
It
that
was
they're...
purely hypothetical, Nibirius.
Huh. Wild
For
that they're
lack
just
of a direct
okay with
order,
Rhindodier's
I
circumstances.
say it's time we intervened.
Oh.
Of course, to the extent permitted by the rules.
Oh. The shades are getting involved more than they already did. And the device. He's here?
The gaze of the gods has always been considered
He's
a
in Nod
blessing.
Cry.
Hence the origin and meaning of visions.
Oh, I love the disdain in that.
People
This
have
missile.
always yearned for the gaze of the gods.
Oh, this place is beautiful.
And yet, it is said that when mortals look directly upon the gods, they invite their wrath and retribution.
Yeah, you get too close. You threaten their divinity,
And
their
what
power.
of it? Lives will be lost. A nation brought to ruins.
A nation.
So be it. It is nothing I have not endured
Ah,
before.
that's his philosophy.
I already know the price of gazing
He
upon the
watched
gods.
the fall of his people.
So tell me, what is the price of killing a god? The god stays silent, as if the thought had never once crossed his mind.
His mind.
To all those who dare not look up to the heavens, Her Majesty the Tsaritsa says this.
I'm loving the music here.
Behold,
Even the gods have their
even the
limits.
gods have their limits.
Oh my god! Oh, more? A warehouse of some kind? Barracks, maybe?
Inspection over. Return to your
Ooh,
posts.
big guy.
Make sure the Frostmoon Scions don't pose a threat.
Okay.
Per the Pale Star Edict, we are to
Ooh.
retrieve the damselette from Nod Cry, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. What's up with the damselette right now? Oh my god! We have met the shades now, and they're moving. So first off, we have the beginning here, which has this beautiful brush animation style. Everything is blending together as if it was truly painted with rough brush strokes and stuff. But it nonetheless moves super fluidly. And it seems like this is some kind of false space, a space for an experiment or something. it seemed to almost be within one of the cubes from the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles, which I guess is Asmodee, the space shade. There were plenty of theories about them being that, but confirmed now. But whether this is some kind of experiment designed by Randodir or something caused by Asmodee, it's not immediately clear, but maybe we can figure out by looking at the lines a little more closely. Either way, there's this older woman who seems to have students or something here, people who she is telling a story to, and it is the story of the Shades and their impact on this world. This world has always been so. It always has been this way. It always has existed. Life abides no reason, for none are born by their own consent. Life is something forced upon the living. It is not something gifted to those who want it, as to need to be gifted life means you are not in a position to ask for it. No one asks to be alive, and yet they are. And death abides no reason, for it cannot be defied. No one escapes death. Just as life is forced upon every living person, death is waiting for everyone as well, even by those who see it coming. You can know that you are destined to die. You can know how you will die. You can know when you will die, but it will not change that you will die. Nothing escapes that. Time abides no reason. Nothing is abiding reason, for it deprives us all equally, yet brooks not a second to be reclaimed. Time is something that moves on, something that leaves things behind, something that forces us to never be able to reclaim what is gone. It is what ushers the present to the past and the future to the present. It is what ushers life into death. There is no going back in time, no matter how much some people may try to change that. And space, as well, abides no reason. And we're about to get the reason why space abides no reason. We could theorize and philosophize about it ourselves, but a gust picks up. She loses her place in the book. She seems to lose her thought process. And we see that something is tearing her apart from the inside. Something is breaking her, perhaps even stopping her from ending this story, from finishing this. Perhaps because Asmodee has swapped sides. She is no longer a shade. That which she represents, that which sees no reason, has changed what it works for. But even through this pain that seems to be tearing her apart, she's able to speak a bit more. The ruler of space stopped the golden-haired twin travelers. Outright confirmation, if the imagery wasn't enough, the ruler of space, who we later hear as Asmodee, is the sustainer of heavenly principles, and mercilessly tore them apart. We were separated on that day. We were torn from each other by the shade of space. But it's here that a beam of red rains down onto the tree, causing everything to fall apart. She becomes nothing. The book falls to the ground, and we watch as a bird that was flying around gets impaled on the heel, basically, of Renova, becoming distorted, this pulsating, glowing mass, before just bursting. And we see Renova in the flesh for the first time. And she begins to say Nibirius. She is used to, after untold time, the shade of life being Nibirius, but she corrects herself. This looks more like Reindotir's doing. Whatever this is an experiment. Reindotir is the one who would do something like this, not the Nibirius I have known. It paints a picture of what the dynamic between Nibirius and Reindotir is. There is a mutuality to it, a compromise to their existence. We see in a moment that they can speak to each other at any time, but they appear to be one body, that though they may be on equitable terms currently, are to some degree wrestling for control of the one body. The words of Renova here imply that either Nibirius at times has control over their body and can do things of their own volition, or perhaps it's more them just implying that some things Nibirius is able to convince Reindotir to do, and therefore are more so her doing than Reindotir's. But it also points us to the fact that whatever is going on here, whatever this little story was, it is likely Reindotir who was responsible for it, some kind of experiment. But then she scolds Reindotir, saying, "Please don't litter other people's spaces with your bizarre creations," implying that this is not her space to be using. Perhaps it's under the purview of Renova, or perhaps because when we pull out, see that it's within one of those cubes, perhaps it's in the purview of Asmodee. But perhaps that is part of why this experiment was done, to test how stable life could be in this space that it is unstable. Perhaps this is in relation to the turning heel of Asmodee, perhaps by Asmodee siding with the Abyss or whatever other force she seems to have sided with. It has distorted the capacity of life within her realm. I'm not entirely sure, but all we know is that within this space, seemingly expected by Reindotir, all life here has been rendered unstable, tainted by the ruler of space. Directly proof that is because of Asmodee. Something Asmodee did has caused this space to become distorted and not be able to support life. Presumably Reindotir was either just confirming that, or attempting to test to see if she could make life that could exist here. Regardless of what it is, it reveals that to us, that it is Asmodee who is responsible. She continues, saying, "I have seen enough to know that repeating this experiment would be fruitless. I will not continue a pointless experiment, I just needed to confirm this." But it's here then that we enter the internal mindscape of Reindotir and Nibirius, the inner world that is the ruler of life. Nibirius says with a smile, we can tell by the blue helix halo being Nibirius and the gold one being Reindotir. Perhaps the dual eyes are also representations of that. The blue silvery one representing Nibirius, the original host, and the gold being the new one, Reindotir. But she says to Reindotir with a smile, "You seem to wield my power as if it were nothing but a plaything for your amusement. You wield life itself, and yet you use it for random experiments that you expected to fail. You treat it like a plaything despite it being a fundamental aspect of reality. Although merging with you has stripped me of agency," implying that it isn't really a wrestling of control back and forth as much as it is just sometimes Reindotir listens to Nibirius. "I shall still continue to voice my disapproval. Though she lacks agency, Nibirius can still scold and try to influence Reindotir. And it's here that respect is shared. You have my respect, Nibirius. Your nagging is one of the only things that can get under my skin. Who knew having a voice in your head, constantly questioning your actions and voicing their disapproval is annoying, but it seems to be something that earned Reindotir's respect rather than annoyance. And this seems to please her as she fades away and we re-enter this space. At which point, after sort of just a moment of staring at Reindotir, perhaps only hearing half of this interaction or whatever, Renova turns her head and acknowledges Istaroth, who is also here. "Why did you bestow history upon them?" Them, in all likelihood, being mortals, people. This could mean a lot of things. It could mean, why did you give them the capacity to understand time on a more fundamental level? It could mean, why did you give them the capacity to understand the past and reflect on what has happened in the past? And in line with that previous one, it could be, why did you give them the capacity to remember? Could be that fundamental. But regardless of what exactly it means, the reason given by Istaroth is, "I had to find some way to pass the time, did I not? The Shade of Time was bored. The Shade of Time needed to do something. So why not give history to them, to the people, the mortals, whoever it is that they are?" It's an oddly intriguing idea to me that the ruler of time struggles to pass the time. It's something sort of ironic almost. But after all, it's clear that Asmodee is not here. Something has changed. The way that those two connect, I am not entirely sure, but it does transition us towards the next point of Asmodee's absence and her influence and her change. And Renova, oddly enough, seeming the sort of awkward one in this interaction, something we have not seen from her in the limited experience we have with her, says, "Well, perhaps you could share your input a little earlier next time." But then she does agree with her. "You are right, Istaroth. There's no trace of Asmodee here. This may be her realm, this space may be hers, it may be influenced by her, but she is not here. Perhaps the reason life is not supported here is because she has left." And so she wonders. The Shades themselves wonder, where has she gone? What has she done? But they move on fairly quickly. Renova says, "It's time I put this place out of its misery. This isolated space does not support life, so I shall end it with death." And as it's destroyed, we pull out to reveal the cube that is destroyed. Perhaps each of those cubes houses a world, but from there we enter this other space, this meeting place for the Shades, where despite the absence of Asmodee, Istaroth seems unperturbed. These meetings are just a formality after all. There's no real purpose to them. We merely gather for the purpose of gathering at times. Does it really matter that one of us is missing? That it's only 3 of us here? It seems that where Renova is much more concerned about what is going on, and Reindotir is at the very least curious, Istaroth seems unperturbed. She does not seem to really care. She seems very casual and almost listful throughout all of this. Perhaps as the Shade of Time, she understands that whatever bad that is happening now will pass. And it's here that we continue to have these personalities reinforced. Reindotir silently is listening, considering everything that's going on. She is the curious type, the calculative type. She's not going to speak without first considering her words. But Renova is the one who is actually worried. She says that I, for one, think that we should find her. This is a shade we're talking about. The ruler of space, Asmodee, is missing. Where is she? We can't find her. She hasn't shown up to our meeting. One of her realms has been abandoned with no traces left and cannot support life anymore. What is going on? And from here we get some more information. Since the heavenly principles cast us as shades, not one of us has ever missed a meeting. These four have always met at the intended time and place. Though they may just be a formality, the fact that one of them missed this, the fact that Asmodee, who cannot be found, missed this, means something. At which point, Istroth, once again, ever so casually, offers a hypothetical. What if she just switched sides? What if she's our enemy now? What if she's turned against the heavenly principles? The only person I can imagine that could oppose the heavenly principles in any way and at all be within the realm of power for her to swap sides to be serving under is the sinners. But I don't know. It is hypothetical after all. If that was the case, finding her would do more harm than good. If she is our enemy, finding her would lead us to danger, perhaps even a trap. But then it is now that Reindotir steps forward and voices her opinion. Of course, as soon as a hypothetical has been made, she is there to follow it through. That's an interesting idea. Better than being devoured, whatever that means. To Reindotir, it would be better if one of her fellow shades turned against them, became their enemy, than if they were devoured, destroyed, consumed by some outside force. The Abyss itself, maybe? Whatever it is, I'm not sure. But whatever it is, Reindotir views it as worse than an ally turning against them. But while Reindotir is willing to accept this hypothetical as a theory to look into, Renova isn't having it. You make it sound like such a trivial affair. It's not that easy for one of us shades to turn against the heavenly principles. We are shades. We were cast as such by the heavenly principles. To turn against them is far more difficult than simply switching sides. We ourselves are the shadows of the heavenly principles. To turn against them would mean becoming something else. But there is one possibility. If she loves her new master more than her own self, if she is willing to serve this new master and believes in them and loves them far more than they ever did the heavenly principles, perhaps they could become the shadow of their new master instead, or something more. It's unthinkable, but possible, and it's something that seems to legitimately unnerve Renova. But her company does not have the same reaction. Where hers is one of discomfort, Reindotir is continuing to enjoy the hypothetical, enjoying figuring out the thought process, the possibilities. And Istroth continues to have her casual air about her, though showing a bit of interest in the idea, it seems. A bit of curiosity. But more so, she notices something about Renova. She notices Renova is being watched. It's not this location. It's not all of them collectively. Renova specifically. Perhaps in her appearance in Natlan, somehow the Fatui, more specifically Piero, were able to lock in on her presence, follow her movements, watch what she is doing, and evidently she didn't. She asks by whom? She's questioning whose gaze could pierce this far. This is the space of the shades, presumably somewhere protected by the heavenly principles, if not in Celestia. Who would have the power and capacity, and honestly just gall, to do such a thing? But then she locks in on it. She notices what's going on, who it is, and we zoom in to Piero, who is staring right back at her. And it is not a happy look. It is one of disdain, annoyance, nothing good. But she remembers. She knows who he is. He was there just before Renova placed the curse of immortality upon the Conrians. She noticed him, and he looked up at her with those same eyes. He was not in a position to stop her, but he was there. He watched. As his world crumbled, his very being altered, he watched. And from here we learn about Reindotir's association with him. He's an old acquaintance of mine. They're both from Conry after all. Of course they would know of each other. And in her opinion, she's sure that working for the Sarisa has helped him let go of his past obsessions. Perhaps said jokingly, but I'm not so sure. I don't know. If anything, I imagine he's more obsessed now with fighting against Celestia than ever before. Or perhaps the past obsessions that she's talking about are not those of fighting Celestia, but those from before the fall of Conria. Perhaps he had other obsessions prior to that he has now foregone in name of this grander quest. From here, though, the discussion comes to the Cryo-Archon, the Tsaritsa. They are not impressed by her, at least Renova is not. With her paltry power, she dares set her gaze on the heavenly principles? A mere Archon, believing themselves capable of gazing up at the heavenly principles and defying them. Ridiculous. But the heavenly principles have yet to awaken, Rindontir reminds us. If I were her, if I was the Cryo-Archon, I wouldn't pass up this opportunity either. This unique position where I can work underneath Celestia's eyes and not be punished for my heresy as I build up the capacity to defy them directly. That is an opportunity to take. No matter how paltry her power compared to the Shades or the Heavenly Principles, it's an opportunity nonetheless. But interestingly enough, this is something that draws the annoyance and disapproval of Nibirius. You know I cannot allow you to think that way. To think of the Heavenly Principles as something you can defy, to take advantage of, that is not something that can be allowed. I cannot allow you to think that way. You are a shade now. You are a shadow of the Heavenly Principle. But of course, she just laughs it off. It was purely hypothetical, Nibirius. I never meant to make the claim as if I was thinking the same thing. But once again, the one who is most concerned about the scenario, Renova steps forward with her idea. They may not have a direct order from the Heavenly Principles, as it is still asleep, yet to awaken. She believes it is time to intervene. Asmodee is missing, perhaps turned heel. The Tsaritsa moves against us, against the Heavenly Principles. We cannot accept this. Of course, to the extent permitted by the rules. Even in the absence of the Heavenly Principles, we cannot break its rules. We will intervene within our capacity. But then we shift over to the other side. Pyrrho is unimpressed, unafraid. He continues his work. The gaze of the gods has always been considered a blessing, hence the origin and meaning of visions. The very thing that builds the way to Celestia, that builds the heroes and villains of our age. It comes from this blessing of the god's gaze, something he is not impressed by. People have always yearned for the gaze of the gods. It is something they seek. They seek the god's blessing. And yet, it is said that when mortals look directly upon the gods, when our gaze lands upon them rather than theirs upon us, when we look into their eyes, no longer let them look down upon us. They invite their wrath and retribution. We can receive the gods' blessings, but we cannot stand alongside them. The gods will grant favor to those they gaze upon, but refuse to look us in the eye, refuse to acknowledge us in any other way, refuse to let us climb that ladder up to the stars. And yet he is still unimpressed, still unafraid. The wrath and retribution of the gods is nothing. Lives will be lost, of course they will. Nation brought to ruins. Conria fell, countless died, thousands punished. The wrath of the gods is powerful, but that is fine, that is acceptable, so be it. It is nothing I have not endured before. I have endured the wrath of the gods once. I can do it again. And interestingly enough, this next line is in quotations, as if he's quoting someone or reciting something. I already know the price of gazing upon the gods. So tell me, what is the price of killing a god? If gazing upon the gods brings their wrath, what happens if they are killed? Will the other gods come down to incur their wrath as well? Will they end this world in its entirety? Or will they do nothing more than they already have to me? Gods stay silent. They do not answer this question. Out of fear, after not knowing the answer themselves? Who's to say? It's as if the thought never crossed their mind. They don't know what would happen. They never believed that they could be killed. To all those who dare to look up at the heavens, Her Majesty the Tsaritsa says this: Behold, even the gods have their limits. Even the gods can be pushed to the edge. Even the gods will bleed. Even the gods can die. But before the teaser ends, we get a little bit more. Separate from the conflict between the Shades and the Tsaritsa's forces, Pyrrho more specifically, we get something more on the ground. Something between the normal foot soldiers of the Fatui. Orders to make sure the Frostmoon Scions don't pose a threat, seemingly one of the bigger enemies of the Fatui and Nod Cry. And as we hear of this mission that has been given, per the Pale Star Edict, we see the Damselette glitching, distorting in a field of flowers. We are to retrieve the Damselette from Nod Cry, whatever it takes. Is she lost? Is she captured? Is she of her own volition going rogue? Regardless of what it is, she is not fitting in to this reality. Her very being is distorting and glitching. It paints a picture of how complicated things will be getting. The damselette is either on the loose or captured by some other group. The shades are in motion. Asmodee may have swapped sides, and the Tsaritsa's plan is in motion even more so than it ever has been. But that is where they leave us. That is all we get. And it is a lot. The only other thing we get is a little bit in the description. In the Council of Gods, no mortal voice is ever heard, and thus was the fate of the world arbitrarily determined. We know that such is the way of the world, but do the gods act out of contempt, or have they at some hour begun to act out of fear? The gods do not allow mortals to their table. The Council of the Gods hears no mortal. They decide the fate of the world without any voices from the world. This has always been the way of the world, but has the reason changed? Are they afraid now? Do the gods fear what the mortals gazing up at them can do? Do they fear looking down and seeing someone staring back up at them in anger, in disdain, in determination to pull them down? Do they fear? Are they at their limit? It is incredibly exciting to see this. I was already hyped for Nod Cry, but this brings it so much farther. This isn't even like the actual trailer introducing new characters necessarily for the region. This is just lore, plot lines. It's a Teyvat chapter interlude. There's inevitably probably a ton more that we could get out of this. But for now, at least, I think I will leave things here. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and very special thanks to all of my channel members, being Desaize and Pokelove at the normal tier, and Kondo Nano at the cool person tier. Really appreciate all your support as always, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.